Hey everyone, thanks for watching the Commander's Brew. If you want to help us out, you know what to do. Hitting subscribe. Number one way to do it. Easiest way to do it. Do that. And that's really great. If you want to go above and beyond, you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. Help make the show directly with your donations, and also get in on our Discord chat, and as well as other perks as well. So go check us out there at patreon.com/commandersbrew. Help us make these decks, actually, suggestion-wise. It's very, very fun. But without further ado, let's start talking about today's big deck, which is...
We're talking Grand Warlord Radha, and this is a all basic land deck. Can it be done? Is it fun? Is it worth anything? I believe the answer to all three of these, yes.
Ooh, okay.
So yes, as I mentioned, the philosophy behind this came from a little bit of an achievement unlocked initiation. I was just like, is that even possible? So the initial idea was like, can I get all my lands out? Mm-hmm. Right? Can I see a world where all of my lands are on the battlefield? Right? I want all of the lands on. I should rephrase, all of them out of the deck.
Right.
I don't necessarily some of them will end up in the graveyard. Maybe Fork in the Road, for example, puts one into your graveyard, one into your hand. But right. And I didn't want to use blue, because there's those cards that just say, like Trench Gorger, when it enters, you get to remove all the lands from your deck. I'm like, that's cheating.
Yeah.
And that's not how I wanted to achieve this. I wanted to achieve this by just barfing out so many lands and just having them all on the battlefield.
Right.
My original idea was like, maybe we do Borborygmos in Rage so we can start flinging them at our opponents or creatures. Right. But I found that in initial testing, they weren't ending up in my hand. Like I kept putting them, like they were just on the battlefield for the most part. So I was, and then the irony is once you start thinning your deck from lands so much, Borborygmos's trigger to like draw 3 cards, and if you get to keep the lands,
yeah,
I wasn't drawing lands because like there was hardly any lands left in the deck. So like that was kind of bad as well.
Right.
I'm not going to draw lands accidentally off the top. That's also very rare for it to happen. Nonetheless, Radha became the move. Radha became the commander because, so let's just talk about Grand Warlord Radha. 2 red, green, elf warrior, 3/4 haste. When one or more creatures you control attacks, add that much mana in any combination of red or green, and until end of turn, you don't lose that mana, so you get to keep it past combat, and you get to keep it in your main phase. This will help us ramp even more spells that ramp more lands and get more creatures and more tokens out. It's a gigantic ramp-based thing.
Yeah.
I think we've set the stage. I think we're ready to get to our neat moves.
Working on a
neat
moves.
So, if the goal is to get all of our lands on the battlefield, the way I can think of to get the most lands out is Boundless Realms. 6 and a green for a sorcery, and you basically double the number of lands out. But you have to look for basics. But in this deck, we will have the basics unless we have more than 16 lands on the battlefield, or some 17. We will be able to get all of our basics. So yeah, that is the best one.
How many basics does this deck run? How many lands are you running?
I will tell you. 24 forests, 8 mountains.
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
running 32 basic lands.
So you're only running 32 lands. So like we kind of discussed in the vlog / earlier portion of the show, it's a lower land count than you'd think.
Lower than you think, because we're kind of treating a lot of those initial like green spells that pull a land to your hand as lands as well. They sort of act that way. Yep. They do replace themselves. And I mean, I guess before we go much further, I just want to say that we do run all of the red discard cards and draw cards spells, because that's how we're going to deal with extra. So if we're early game, we can discard early lands to get more cards, to get more ramp. But if it's late game, if we're running out of basics, we can start discarding those ramp spells to turn them into other cards.
Right on.
So that's a useful thing. So back to Boundless Realms. That's the way to get the most out of it. But we also are running a couple of copy effects like Increasing Vengeance. Red, it's an instant, and you get to copy target instant or sorcery spell but you get to flashback it. And if you flashback it for 3 red, you get to copy it twice.
Nice.
If it's early game, I'm happy to copy a ramp spell and get extra because I'm going to flash it back later.
Yep.
And with Radha, once I make my attack, I have some extra mana to do something with. That's how we're going to afford these extra, the quote unquote copy tax. Like once I can afford my Boundless Realms, I'll pay for the copy with some Radha mana.
Yeah, Radha's going to get you to that Boundless Realm sooner than you think, too. It's really, really effective at that. So being able to then copy it isn't crazy. I mean, Boundless Realms is usually a card you don't really need to copy because it gets you so much. But, like, it's definitely possible.
Yeah, and then the way copying that would work is, like, it's almost like you kind of don't want to copy that one, really. You're not going to get... Because the first one will double your lands, but the next one will double the new total. So, like, the second one will only get you an extra 6 lands. Yeah. By that point, you've got 20 or 30.
Which is still pretty good for 2 mana. It's
still pretty good.
Right? You know.
And so, now I want to ask you, Andy, what do you think of Collective Voyage? This is the single green sorcery that has joined forces. So, starting with you, each player pays any amount of mana, and then each player searches for up to X basics, and everyone puts X basics onto the battlefield tapped. We will always have the potential to get the most. But do you, like... I guess this is just the question. I like this card because I'm usually getting the most out of it, but is it worth going up 15 lands if everyone else is going up 8?
Oh, yeah. So each player searches your library for X basic land cards where X is the total amount of mana paid. So you're saying, how are you going up 8? What do you mean?
So if our opponents are running 3 colors with tons of non-basics, they might only have 5 or 6 more basics in their deck.
Yeah.
But I have 32. So, like, I will get to do as many as I want.
So I've included this card, and then I've also cut this card. Because I've seen it in play. I've seen people play it, and like, I've never seen it not get people basic lands, right? So, like...
Of course.
So, like, if I'm going to pay 1 and a green, let's say, I'm going to pay X equals 1 because I'm the person who started with it, because it starts with you. That's the bummer, is that it starts with you.
Yeah,
but it starts with you, so it's kind of fair. So, like, it's rampant growth, but then it rampant growths everyone. Which is, you know, it's not great. It's fine because ultimately you're just trying to do your thing, but, you know, helping your opponents is obviously not what you're here to do. But if people start pouring their mana into it, it is good because then we're all paying. There's at least someone else paying mana, so now it's kind of everyone's getting there together. And you've only paid 2 and you're getting 2. It's like, it starts to pay off the more people pay for it, obviously. I think it's good in decks like this where we care about either like landfall or we care about, you know, having this number of basics for whatever it is we're trying to do. So I think overall, in a deck like this, Gruul deck, something like that, we're happy with Collective Voyage. What do you think about this move, playing it just for the green and just letting other people decide whether or not lands come out?
Well, that is very interesting.
Because, like, obviously your opponents can just be like, no, and then you're just like, okay, well, I threw a card away.
Yeah, I did throw a card away.
But what are the
hurts.
odds that no one has, like, oh, I got 1 extra land? It's like, well, you mean I just tap this land and get a basic? Like, that's pretty good.
I mean, it also seems fair if, like, to cast it with the deal that's like, okay, everybody, I'm going to pay 1 mana for this and a card. And if you each also pay 1 mana, we will all ramp 3.
That's the reason, like, it's not like the temp thing where one person obviously gets paid off in a big way. Like, the correct decision isn't just to say no to this, because it's unilateral, everyone's going to get it. So, like, I've always found people are willing to toss 1 mana into this spell.
It's interesting. And then, so the other cases where if you feel people are low on basics, if I'm against a 5 color and a 3 color, I might just go over the top and be like, I know I'm going to give you some, but you're going to run out, and I'm going to get a ton out of this.
This is where budget decks can eke out a very big advantage.
Yep. So there's some of the ramp stuff. Why don't you take some of our special friends in the deck? Oh,
we have some special friends like Multani, Yavimaya's avatar.
Yep.
Very special friend. 4 green, legendary elemental avatar. 0/0 with reach and trample, but Multani gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land card in your graveyard. Never seen Multani hit the battlefield smaller than like an 8/8, which is great for 6 mana, but also has this amazing text where you pay 1 and a green to return 2 lands you control to their owner's hand, and you return Multani from your graveyard to your hand, and then of course you're free to cast Multani after that. But basically, Multani does not leave the game permanently ever, unless of course he's exiled. But it's very, very difficult to get rid of. Board wipes are like, fine, no problem. Guess what? I'm gonna just start off by casting a Multani next, when my turn comes back around.
Yeah,
which is big.
We also can sometimes revive Multani off of just the bonus Radha mana.
Yeah.
And just like do that. And like, let me tell you, when you've ramped out 12, 13, 15 lands, putting 2 back doesn't matter. Like, you don't care about those 2.
Not a problem.
You're going to play 1 anyway, right? So you're really just down 1 land. Unless Mina and Den's out, then you're down 0 lands. Like,
also, Multani's reach is a little sneaky. Like,
yes.
Reach is generally fairly sneaky, unless it's on like a spider. Like people aren't super aware of reach, so you're probably not going to like get someone with a reach, because the as it happens in friendly commander games, like, oh, I didn't see that guy had reach. Do you mind if I don't attack with this angel that just dies?
Yes.
And people are like, yes, of course, that's no problem. But the holding back the attackers is what's really great.
Huge, yeah.
Another big special friend is Oren Reef Hydra, which is 4 green for the 5/5 Hydra with trample. Then it has landfall. This is landfall primed to be really good in this deck. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Oren Reef Hydra. But if it's a forest, put 2 on it instead. So it is my assumption that Oren Reef Hydra can get pretty massively out of control with the number of forests and the number of basics we'll have entering the battlefield here.
25 forests.
Yeah.
25, 24, I forget how many. 24 forests. So like, we've already got a bunch out, but like, when you hit your big Boundless Realms or Collective Voyage, like, here's where I would hit Collective Voyage. Like, yeah, I'm about to make an attack. I feel like Oren Reef Hydra is protected. I feel I got my read is that there isn't a removal waiting in someone's hand because they would have used it by now, or maybe I can protect Oren Reef Hydra with the Swiftfoot Boots. So now I'm going to Collective Voyage, and I'm going to pay as much X as I can by myself. And I'm going to get another 15 forests, and this thing is going to be ginormous.
Yeah, and even like, just thinking about it from a very basic standpoint, like odds are, and like more often than not, this is a 6 mana 7/7, because a lot of times you'll pay the 6 mana, then drop a forest, and then that's your Oren Reef Hydra, which just alone is not bad at all, because it's got trample.
Yeah.
Upside's
another
huge.
big angle. Upside's huge. I love this card. But another angle that this deck is trying to do is to animate our lands.
Ooh.
It occurred to us and me and the people we were kind of working together with in the Discord. Let me just make an early shout out too. Like the big helpers for this deck, the big people with a lot of ideas. We had Jamon, we had Mondo, we had RMDCB. They were sort of some of the main idea throwers in there. Really help this deck evolve and fine tune it. So animating lands is a big strategy that this deck is going to employ. If you've got 15 or 16 of them out there, you might as well make them into creatures that you can use to like fight with. So Sylvan Awakening, 2 and a green for a sorcery. Until your next turn, all lands you control become 2/2 elemental creatures with reach, indestructible, and haste. They're still lands. So I can spend 3 and then attack with the rest of them, which then tap, but Radha gives me back all that mana for the attackers because each one turns into a red or a green mana. So I can still have all that mana to do stuff with afterwards. So that's good. And they're indestructible, so I can attack without fear. Rude Awakening is similar, but it's a sorcery where it either untaps all the lands or turns everything into 2/2 creatures, but they are not indestructible. I can entwine it for 5 mana for the first choice, or I can entwine for an additional 2 and a green. So that's a total of 8 to untap all of my lands and make them creatures. So I can tap out, entwine it, have some more mana, and keep doing other things. So that's useful for our ability. I'm okay if a few have to die to get a huge attack through. But of course, So in Andy, do you want to take this next little bit here? So once we've animated our lands, what are we doing with them?
Yeah, this is really cool because, much like tokens, now you've got a ton of little creatures. And, having something to bump them up or whatever is going to be great. So Return of the Wild Speaker, love this new card from Throne of Eldraine.
Yep.
I can't say it enough. I think this is a really, really great commander card. I've already put it in several decks just from that I've brewed from here on out. I haven't even looked back at decks that want it, and I know there's a bunch. But it's 4 and a green for an instant, which is the key thing. Choose one, draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. So many times already, like literally, I've only played Commander like 5 times since this card's come out, maybe, if that. Even counting Battle of the Brews, and I've had this card in my hand a couple of times and just been like, this is so great. I don't have to make a decision. I can either draw the cards or I can kill someone with this. Like you feel free when you have this card. It's great. So yeah, like we said, either you're drawing cards because for some reason animating all your lands and attacking isn't going to be enough for something, or you just pop off that +3/+3 till end of turn, and that's going to be enough to finish the game. Great card. Love this card.
And the instant is why Radha can take advantage, because we can get that mana as long as we're attacking with 5 creatures. This has sort of been paid for already. Like we can just cast it, even if we've tapped all our lands to attack with them. Sure, we can still have the mana to play this. That's fine.
We've also got Vitalizing Wind, 8 and a green. I recently lost to this card, and it feels stupid. You just feel like an idiot when you lose to this card because you're like, a 9 mana instant beat me, 8 and a green for an instant that says creatures you control get +7/+7 until end of turn. So yeah, the one downside that you'll note with Return of the Wild Speaker is that it doesn't give trample. And sometimes the +3/+3 isn't going to be enough because they've got a couple blockers. So Vitalizing Wind is like, obviously it's 9 mana, but it takes care of that. Like you don't need to get many creatures through when they get +7/+7. Just a handful will do it. So you don't even need trample to make this worth it. But Vitalizing Wind, very big, very, very stupid card. In a good way. Yeah. And then we have Dragon Rage, 2 and a red for an instant that says add red to your mana pool for each attacking creature you control, and until end of turn, attacking creatures you control gain fire breathing, which is red. Pay a red, and this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So on top of our Radha mana, we now get this like kind of double Radha mana because of the Dragon Rage ability, and it's attacking, so you can do it like after you've declared attacks. It's not a thing you have to do before. And then you just pump up the ones that get through. Like they can block whoever they want because all of our creatures have fire breathing. And you can just make I mean, that's probably not what you would do just in case there's a removal spell, but like, just pump up any of the ones you want that are going to get through and win that way.
Yeah, that could be your win there. I mean, Multani has trample, Oren Reef Hydra has trample. I could just pump them to the ceiling. Any of the above. And a special shout out to Dusk from Discord, who gave us the idea for a Sylvan Advocate. 1 and a green for an elf druid ally. Starts as a 2/3. Very good for 2 mana. Has vigilance. And as long as you control 6 or more lands, guess what? Always. Sylvan Advocate and land creatures you control get +2/+2. So now when we animate all of our lands into 2/2s, they're 4/4s.
Yeah.
And so like, that's just great. That's just great. This card is great. Thank you, Dust.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot that it did this to land creatures. I remember Sylvan Advocate from when it was in Standard, and it was this like really great 2-drop because very easily it became a 4/5, and it was pretty tough to deal with. But I totally forgot it also did this to land creatures. This being an anthem for land creatures is amazing. That's great. That's very, very good.
Yeah. Awesome. And so obviously, if we've given all our lands vigilance, not vigilance. So our lands get huge. I'm thinking backwards. So we've attacked. Maybe we've like attacked with Radha with all of our lands. We've put tons and tons of mana into our mana pool. So we're able to cast big spells any point in the game for the rest of our turn. So obviously, some of our win cons are going to be centered around having tons of mana. Comet Storm is an easy one.
You're not using Comet Storm, are you? You're not using X spells. You?
I am using X spells. I love X spells. I love X spells. I just love them. I love them so much.
Yeah.
It is kind of sad that we're in Gruul because there isn't the most X spells. Like they're all Hydras or Fireballs. Like there's very few X spells that aren't that. But so I want to paint this neat move for you that is just so after attacking with a ton of lands, we can cast an instant speed Comet Storm if we want, or we can just collect that mana, go to our main phase and cast it. Then that's an option. But what about Natural Affinity? Is this too mean? 2 and a green, instant, all lands become 2/2 creatures until end of turn. They still count as lands. So all of the lands in the game are creatures now. So then I attack with my enormous board of lands, put a ton of mana in my mana pool, and I multi-kick a Comet Storm for 2 damage to all of the lands my opponents control, which are now creatures with 2 toughness, and just kill all my opponent's lands with a huge Comet Storm. And now my lands get through unblocked and my opponents have no lands. Is that too mean? Maybe.
This is I think Joel Rail, Empress of Beasts, I think is the commander
Joel Rail.
that has this ability also, like on her, where you can just animate all lands, right? Something like that.
I think Joel Rail picks a player and makes their
you're right.
lands.
That's what it is. She picks a player, so you can hose one specific player, like in response to a board wipe or something like that. So, and you can also do this in response to a board wipe. You probably wouldn't want to.
You can. Well,
but you can,
like
right?
maybe. But if I had a Multani, well, I guess Multani would no, because all those lands would be in the graveyard. So like Multani is still enormous. So, and if I have an Oren Reef Hydra with trample that's already like that's dominating the board, if I've got a dominating board position,
they're
going to
die from the board wipe though.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe you wouldn't do this in response to a board wipe unless you somehow gave
certainly not.
something indestructible, or if your lands were indestructible. I guess you could do this. Anyways, whatever. We're talking about crazy corner cases at this point, but Natural Affinity, yeah, it has the potential to be a absolute game wrecking spell for your opponents.
Game wrecking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, awesome. Love the inclusion of a card like this.
Yeah.
What else are we working with here? Oh, okay.
Oh, here's a couple more neat moves. Yeah.
We got a few more neat moves here. Outpost Siege, 3 and a red for an enchantment. It's the cons or dragons thing here. We have to choose one or the other. And the cons one is at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card. Or the dragons, which is whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Let's also is this pair with the next one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's going to pair up with Stolen Strategy. 4 and a red for the enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast non-land cards from among those exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. This just gives us a lot of options, right? Like this is just going to give us a ton more options of stuff to do with all this mana, which I love. And I love that this is coming from kind of an unlikely source in red. Like red is giving us like essentially card draw options. Like that's rare.
Well, this is great. I think this is one of the strengths of Radha's because that mana, it's temporary for the turn. Like you get to use it at any point during the turn, but like you might run out and there's worlds where like I'm almost out of stuff to do. But with Stolen Strategy, with Outpost Siege, like that'll ensure that we have temporary cards to use our temporary mana on. So we're just like, well, I'm not going to do anything else with it, so I might as well do this little thing that you have and try it out.
I really like that. I really like the it's kind of like an Atali thing a little bit, except you still have to pay for it.
A little bit.
Yeah, no, I think this card really is at home in this type of thing.
And I've had mixed results with it, but I want to try Experimental Frenzy. 3 and a red enchantment. You can look at the top card of your library at any time, and you can play the top card of your library, but you can't play cards from your hand, and you get to destroy it by paying 3 and a red. So ideally, once we've gotten so many lands out of our deck, we can probably Experimental Frenzy until we're out of mana. Like, because we'll generate a ton with Radha, and it's going to be spell. Maybe we hit 1 land. Well, we get 1 land drop per turn, so that'll be that one. Then probably more spells. I bet you this card will... And then we can always destroy it if we draw something crucial that we need to be able to cast.
What about Fires of Invention? That made me think of Fires of Invention.
Fires of Invention is one you only get to cast 2 spells a turn.
Yeah, but you have so many lands. It's like you could cast something. I guess you kind of have to build your deck a little differently if you're going to do that.
I don't like the idea of like
really big mana spells. Yeah. not
Yeah.
and not X spells, of course.
Right.
Cool. Anyways, neat. Yeah, I love that. I think Experimental Frenzy is a real possibility here with the low land count and the pulling out of lands and stuff like that. I think that's a good move.
I think so. Yeah, and I do. It's interesting. It's a great use of extra Radha mana as well.
At the very least, it is an experiment. Putting this card in the deck, right? Like, this is a bit of an experiment. Let's see how it works. Well, there you go. How about the surprises and discoveries? There must have been some here.
Oh, definitely. Well, this is one that I hadn't considered before. This is a genuine surprise. It came from Future Sight, but it's a Edge of Autumn. 1 and a green for a sorcery. If you control 4 or fewer lands, search for a basic, put it on the battlefield tapped. But if you don't, this card does nothing. You can't do it. So instead, it also has cycling, sacrifice a land. So this is there's not a ton of 2 mana actual ramp. We got Rampant Growth and we got this. A lot of 2 mana spells put it into your hand. We usually have to get to 3 before it starts going to the battlefield. So the drawback of this one is it doesn't work late, but in this deck, we've got so many lands, we will happily sacrifice a land to cycle this card. And it doesn't cost mana to do that. All we do is I don't need 18 right now. I'm going to put 1 in the graveyard. Multani doesn't change size, and I'll just cycle this to something else. This card is excellent.
The bummer is, I guess, if you sack a land and you draw a land, you're like, well, I guess I just broke even.
Yeah, but that's 1 less land you're going to draw later.
Yeah. Yeah, then it kind of just does the same as one of those pay a green, put a land in your hand type thing, except that you're down a land. Which, again, at the end of...
But you haven't paid any mana for it, right? You can tap that land for mana, use it for something else.
I guess the worst case scenario with this card would be getting it on turn 5 or 6 and being oh.
Yeah, that would be a truly bad situation.
Yeah. Interesting, though. Interesting card. If we're looking for rampant growth effects, I've kind of rediscovered Font of Fertility, which is an interesting option. It's
what's that
it's
one?
single green for an enchantment, and then on the enchantment is pay 1 and a green, sack it, get a basic land. So it's rampant growth on the enchantment, and you have to sacrifice it.
Right.
So it really just rampant growth, except that you have to pay the 1 green before you do it. So it's relatively close.
Do you know what? I like that for this deck, actually. I think this should be included. Andy, that's a genius idea, because so often we tap out to cast a bunch of stuff and we'll just be okay, I've tapped out, and the last spell I can play, I've already played my land, so I've tapped out for this, and this ramps some spells, and my last thing puts 1 land into my hand, which is a forest, and I'll play my forest for a turn, and then that forest is sitting here doing nothing. So I love a 1 green spell that I can be well, instead of doing nothing, I'm going to put this on the battlefield, and next turn I'm going to keep this chain rolling. I think this is an excellent include for the way the numbers work out.
Yeah, and think about it it has all the same, basically plays almost exactly the same as Rampant Growth. Almost, obviously different, but turn 1, if you have this in your opening hand, what are the odds you can just play this on turn 1, especially in this basic land filled deck, right? You're not playing a tap land, so it's pretty similar. Depending on what you're trying to do, it's going to be pretty close.
It's instant speed activation too.
Yeah,
so we can do this off of Radha mana. So the other surprise and discovery comes to us from RMDCB. A bunch of letters. I don't know how to pronounce that. Please help me out in Discord. But thanks in the Discord for an excellent mana sink. Sometimes it sucks when you attack with Radha and all your little creatures, and you're I got nothing to do with that mana.
Yeah.
But Hero's Bane, 3 green, 0/0 Hydra, enters with 4 +1/+1 counters. Starts with a 4/4, but you pay 4 mana, 2 green, and you get to double its power in terms of +1/+1 counters. You put on as many +1/+1 counters as it has power. So you're effectively doubling it every time you activate it. So that's a great way to just be it doesn't have trample right now, but Mina Enden is in the deck. So the Mina Enden's activated ability gives a creature trample. So that's something we could do.
Yeah, I mana sinks are something I was going to bring up. I'm glad that this is a great one. This is this can get absolutely out of control. People are just gonna is just gonna eat creatures until it kills someone.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Great.
Shall we do the budget report?
We shall.
This is the part of the show where we take all of the cards and we buy them with basic money. None of the cards cost non-basic money.
Right. This money does not have the pictures of presidents and or royalty and or prime ministers on it. It just is basic. It just says 1 or
money.
10. Yeah. 1 money.
Can you imagine if a country decided to release minimalist graphic designed money? Like, it's the minimalist design. It's just one color and a simple Helvetica 10.
Just so easy to counterfeit.
I guess that's why you would never do that,
Yeah,
right? You throw away a lot of counterfeit
anyone
protection.
could print money at that point. It's on white paper.
Well, I dare you, government.
Yeah,
I dare you.
I dare you. Let's see how that would affect our economy.
So I plug this deck in. There's no lands in it. The lands are free. So basically, you can buy this on TCG low for $31.
That's not bad. That's cheaper than a precon.
Right? You're gonna pay about $75 if you go for like the regular mid-range price, if you care about that stuff. But already we can already knock a good 12 off of here, because the first card that the most expensive card is Ulvenwald Hydra.
Yeah.
4 green for a Hydra with reach that has star. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Obviously, we're getting tons of lands. This is a good card for us. Mm-hmm. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put it into play tapped, and then shuffle. So that's also good for us. It puts a land out. But I think the reason this is so expensive is that it can tutor up a non-basic.
Yeah.
But this deck doesn't have any. So well, this card doesn't do anything.
You're not really taking advantage of that, yeah.
We're not taking advantage of it. I mean, you could easily put in one Kessig Wolf run in this deck, and like this deck obviously wants a Kessig Wolf run as a land, but I'm just not running one out of principle.
Out of spite.
Well, see, this should get your Kessig Wolf run, but if you're being a purist like me,
sure.
Like honestly, I don't want to cast a Rampant Growth and have and know that like I have no more basics.
Yeah,
but there is one more land in this deck that I cannot get out. Like that would drive me nuts. Anyway, feel free to cut this. We got better creatures that get huge if you don't care about that land, so we can save $6 there. And this other card, Genesis Wave, green X. It's a sorcery. This one's about $4, $4 or $5. Ulvenwald was $6 or $7. So you reveal the top X cards and you put any number of permanents down that have converted mana cost X or less. The rest that you don't do go into your graveyard. So
I always forget that this gets permanents. I always forget that this gets lands too. I just don't consider that when I think about Genesis Wave.
I wanted this to get lands, but the problem is by the time our X is big enough that we're happy to cast it, we probably don't have that many lands, so we end up not hitting a lot of lands. And a great number of this deck are sorceries or instants that tutor up lands, so we don't even hit those. Your Font of Fertility is a great one that would hit, but unfortunately, this is just too dead of a card for us most of the time. So I think there's another $5 you can save cutting this one.
Not bad. So saving money all over the place here.
Well, and the third most expensive card, I know, Andy, is your favorite card of the deck. So let's just segue into our favorite cards, and I'll let you cover the third most expensive card.
Oh yeah, I love me a Beastmaster Ascension. 2 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks, you may put a quest counter on Beastmaster Ascension as long as it has 7 or more counters on it. Creatures you control get +5/+5. So think about back to what's it called? What was
Sylvan Awakening?
No, the other one, the one that gives +7/+7.
Vitalizing Wind.
Vitalizing Wind gives +7/+7. It costs 9 mana. It's an instant. Beastmaster Ascension costs 3, and it only gives 2 less than that. So like this is a very good card, right? Not only can you play this out pretty early and have it still fully pay off when you're ready for it, you can just drop it and attack and it does the exact same thing. So like you've got kind of like multiple modes on this, but overall, like giving any amount of creatures +5/+5 is usually pretty good. Like 4 or 5 is enough, let alone animating all your lands and attacking with them. Like that's more than enough, right? So this is actually this is like sneakily one of the better overrun-ish style spells in Commander. I think just because of that, right? Like +5/+5 is so much. Love this card.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt it's about $4 or $5 because worth it.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And that's climbed up because it's like been reprinted a bunch.
Yeah, it's always going to be good. So like, keep an eye out.
Yeah.
My favorite card is another mana sink, and it is our most read card in the deck. We need 3 mountains to cast it, but again with Radha, I think we get a pass on that because we can just generate red mana through Radha. This is Obsidian Fireheart, 1 red for an elemental. It's a 4/4, but the key ability is 1 red. Put a blaze counter on target land without a blaze counter on it.
Put a blaze counter on it, guy.
Blaze in it. As long as that land has a blaze counter on it, it has. At the beginning of your upkeep, this land deals 1 damage to you. And then the reminder text says, this land continues to burn after Obsidian Fireheart has left the battlefield. So we're going to tag opponents' lands with blaze counters and just, like with Radha, with all these lands, we're like, okay, I have enough to tag 6 of your lands. Okay, great. So you're going to take 6 every turn for the rest of the game unless you can lose those lands. Even if I die, even if I am out of this game, the burning will continue on your lands until you die or you win.
Wow, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
I think I remember this card from very early on in my Magic playing career. I want to say, I feel like Butler had this in a deck or something. And I remember him like playing against me and me having one of those classic reactions like a new player has where it's like, this isn't fair. Like this is
every turn.
This is
every turn.
No.
I'm going to take 2 every turn.
And I have no way of getting rid of it. Like that. This isn't fair. This is wrong. This is overpowered. This is overpowered.
Like it takes a ton of mana to use, and it is certainly a bit slow, but man, if this is out, I'm happy to take a turn off to like basically get everyone with like a sulfuric vortex for the rest of the game or something like that.
It's not bad. It's really not bad at all.
It's not bad.
That's fun. That's really fun.
It's heavy red, but like maybe I hit a Dragon Rage. Maybe I do that Dragon Rage move, but instead of fire breathing someone, I'll just drop tons of blaze counters everywhere.
Yeah, you just blaze them up.
Blaze them up.
Important to note though that you cannot like load a land up with several blaze counters.
No,
it's only for as many lands as they have. Basically, it's your max.
And the way it's I guess the way it's worded, that phrase, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like the way the rules are, you can only get 1 blaze counter on them.
Yeah, put a blaze counter on a land without a blaze counter. So even if you like tried to stack it, you couldn't do it, right?
At the because
then once the first one resolves, it has a blaze counter on it, and now all of a sudden these don't put more blaze counters on it.
Okay, that is true, but I'm trying to think about what about the world where you proliferate the blaze counters?
That's real. That's possible.
So each.
I smell a whole new deck. I smell a completely different deck.
So would that work? So it has a blaze counter, and it has. At the beginning of your upkeep, this land deals 1 damage to you. Presumably, that phrase will be
Yeah.
No, wait. No.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. As long as it has a blaze counter on it. Welcome to Sean and Andy Figure Out the Rules. This is a little show that we do every now and again when we don't fully read a card or understand how it works. We just you just get to sit here for 10 minutes while we slowly figure out how it works.
Yeah,
so yes, absolutely, that does not work. That's not a whole new deck because yes. Any amount of blaze counters on it just gives it at the beginning of your upkeep, this land deals 1 damage to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Good
thing we figured that out.
I feel proud of us.
Yeah.
I feel proud that we used
we're not just getting told this in the comments.
Thinking. Yeah.
Great.
Ooh, man, what a fun deck.
This is a fun deck. This is a really good one.
I think so.
I love the pure challenge of all basics and the pure spite of sticking to your convictions and not breaking and not including a Kessig Wolf Run, even though that would be a really truly good card for the deck.
You should run a Kessig Wolf
plus
Run.
X plus O trample on a land, red green, really good.
You should run one.
You should run one. Yes, you should. For sure you
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very good in this deck. But you know what? I think this is cool. This is a kind of a slightly different take. Like, this doesn't go so hard into the realm of like categorizing it simply as a landfall deck, or even just a land deck, or just like a, I don't know, even just like a typical Grand Warlord Radha deck. Like, this is cool. I like that this straddles a couple lines. It still has its own flavor. Really good.
Yeah, thanks. Man, it's been fun putting it together. Thanks for everyone hanging out in Discord, helping us out. If you want to help out with that too, that's one of the perks that some of our patrons get. So consider donating that way if you want in on this. But just thanks for listening anyway. That's just great.
Yeah, go check out MTG Canada for these deck lists if you're in Canada, because then you can order those cards from Wizards Tower and get the 5% off with our coupon code, which is BrewEldrain. And you can also, if you're in the States, however, go check out TCGplayer, again, with the link that is in our comments, below the YouTube video or in the show notes. And you can get your cards from there, and that would be great. All right, everyone, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCGplayer affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.